Hi! Creators of AI software wants to replace humans. Writers, artists, photographers, and musicians have pushed against it, yet they take our art to feed and train their algorithms. Despite what they say, it's clear their intention is to take the human out of the equation when creating art, replacing us with machines that can churn out works by the thousands in the span of minutes. In an attempt to take the moral high ground, they reason that we have created music with tools and machines from the start, and that AI is no different. So really, what's the difference between the guitar and Suno? From the very start of humanity, we have used technology and tools to create music. The diviababe flute is the oldest instrument in human history to be discovered. Actually, it'd be a misnomer to say it's the oldest instrument in human history, as it was created by our Neanderthal ancestors. That's how far back music and technology have been enmeshed in our lives. From flutes, drums, and rudimentary string instruments, we have always invented machines specifically for playing music, although most of it doesn't exist any longer since they were made using easily degradable materials. These simple instruments made from bones, hides, and strings stretched on sticks became more complex over time. We created boxes to amplify the sounds of our strings, resulting in the lute. We elongated flutes, allowing us to play different musical notes. We made drums of many different sizes and materials, giving us the magic of rhythm. With every new technological advancement in our society, it seems to have only fueled our quest in finding new ways to create music. We created machines like the harpsichord to pluck strings in a way we can't do with our bare hands. We bowed them with horsehair pulled taut on a piece of wood, and Bartolomeo Cristofori made the piano to strike it in a unique fashion. However, these aren't mere tools to create music. Instruments represent so much more than that. Music, and by extension the instruments we created, is a fundamental part of our society and culture. Just like a hammer and knife is an essential part of humanity's upbringing, so too is the drum. The hammer allowed us to build civilization, while the drums kept civilization together. Instruments allowed us to connect with each other through art. It brought us together to sing and dance as part of society. Playing instruments and creating music is a universal language. No matter how isolated a group of people is, they always have their own music. Just ask any ethnomusicologist. It's our one true lingua franca. With the invention of the industrial machinery, the modern man was created. Items weren't truly handmade anymore. We had machines which could spit them out in assembly lines by the thousands. This rapid change in our lives was reflected in our music. In 1913, after World War I, futurist composer Luigi Russolo published his manifesto, The Art of Noises. In it, he posits that the Industrial Revolution has allowed us to create sounds far beyond traditional instruments, and our music should reflect it. He created instruments called intonarumori, which sounded less like a guitar and more like a gas-powered engine, blurring the line between utilitarian machines and instrument. We also electrified our traditional instruments, attaching pickups to our guitars and amplifying it with large speakers. Let's not forget the very first electric instruments like the theremin. And at the turn of the century, our computers became instruments. Digital audio workstations could synthesize almost every single instrument out there. That isn't counting times when utilitarian machines were used as actual instruments, be it the Musique Concrète of P.S. Schaeffer or Matmos's Ultimate Care 2, which was entirely comprised of sounds made by a washing machine. What isn't in doubt is that machinery and music have coexisted for as long as we have been able to think of creating melodies and rhythms. But what all of this is are examples of music created with machines. What about ones which are entirely created by machines? Before his death in 2025, David Cope, the godfather of AI music, was the first musician to explore the possibilities of expanding the art of composing using artificial intelligence. In 1981, he was commissioned to write an opera, however, ran into a mental block. As a result, he created the Experiments in Musical Intelligence, or Emmy for short. 8 years after receiving the commission, he finally completed his algorithm. After training it on his own compositions, he was able to produce an original opera with the help of Emmy within 2 days. Cope's intention with inventing Emmy was to reimagine and look at his works through a unique lens, hoping it will allow him to unlock a different side of his music. If anything, Emmy was created to support his idea of music making. As he said in his book about his algorithm, "The genius of great composers, I believe, lies not in inventing previously unimagined music, but in their ability to effectively reorder and refine what already exists." In comparison to most musicians, his approach to composing relied less on creative intuition, but more the remixing of existing ideas to form a new one, which probably explains why Emmy existed in the first place. After creating the opera, he went on to train the algorithm on the works of Chopin, Mozart, and Bach, to startling results. In 1997, Emmy was put to the test. Overseen by computer scientist Douglas Hofstadter, he asked an audience at Indiana University to choose between a composition created by Emmy, Bach, and one which was written by Dr. Steve Larson, a professor at the campus. Audience members were tasked with figuring out which composition was made by whom, and to choose their favorite. On stage was a pianist who would play all three of the selected pieces. The only label which was put on each performance was by the order it was presented in, after which the results came in. Most thought Bach's composition was created by Dr. Larson. Most thought Larson's piece was created by the AI, and most thought Emmy's computer-generated score was made by Bach. Not only that, Emmy's composition was voted as the audience's favorite. Upon witnessing the result, Larson said, "My admiration for Bach's music is deep and cosmic. That people could be duped by a computer program was very disconcerting." When Emmy was first conceived, it created music which were akin to generic Baroque music. Nothing special. A piece trained on Bach was no more different than compositions trained on Vivaldi. Cope would go on to work on his algorithm, programming it to pick up on composers' peculiarities. As time went on, Emmy could digest Bach's works, understanding all the little parts which made his music unique, and output a piece. However, it's hard to say it was unique in any way. The pieces it spat out was essentially a recombination of all the compositions it was trained on, and the results weren't always good, meaning he had to sift through dozens of entries and curate them. He said that depending on which composers it was trained on, it was easier to pick out the good ones. If it was trained on Chopin, there was a 1 in 4 chance the result was satisfactory to him, but with Beethoven, it was 1 in 70. Outside of the event, Cope would sometimes play Emmy's pieces for unsuspecting listeners as a small test. Without telling them the composition was created by AI, some would confess to being moved by it. But the moment he revealed that it was created by an unfeeling machine, everyone would deny ever feeling any sort of attachment to the song. The entire event at Indiana University was compared to the chess match between Deep Blue and Garry Kasparov by the New York Times. Rather than an experiment to showcase ingenuity, it was akin to a fight for the soul of humanity. When Emmy won the crowd's vote, it was a landslide. No other piece came close to the number of votes it got. In the aftermath of the AI's victory in its showdown against humans, Cope said, "Emmy forces us to look at great works of art and wonder where they came from and how deep they really are. It would mean that, to my absolute devastation, music is much less than I ever thought it was." That day's result was a somber affair. The realization that perhaps human creativity was something which was quantifiable and could be easily replicated, just as long as it was trained on the right dataset. No longer was music made with machines, they were now made by machines. As a musicologist who shouted at Cope after an Emmy showcase succinctly put it, music is dead. Emmy was just the first of its kind. Research into generative AI algorithms for every other creative field was in full swing by the early 90s. Cope's invention was merely for music. This event, and the heartbroken reaction from researchers and musicologists, puts our current struggles against AI in perspective. Our current ethical debates of AI music are not all too different than the ones happening in the 90s to 2000s. If anything, the only change is that the conversation has spread into the wider zeitgeist as AI-generated music has become more widespread. Streaming platforms are inundated with artificial bands, there are popular music mixes on YouTube comprising solely of AI music, and the general ease of access to algorithms to create it. Be it Suno or Udio, these pieces of software have made this once complex program, which had to be managed by a specialist, open to anyone. With a simple prompt, all you have to do is describe what you'd like the song to sound like and presto, music made in a matter of seconds. The worst part is what music these machines are trained on. Cope specifically curated and fed Emmy specific works to generate the music he wanted, while today's algorithms are on a wholesale diet. No matter the genre, period, or artistic intent, all music has been shoved into it with zero care into its curation. It's about volume rather than the want to study music. A lot of the music these companies take to train their programs have been used without the express permission of their artists. In comparison, all of Emmy's pieces which has been released were trained on the works of Mozart, Bach, and a variety of classical masters. This is music that is in the public domain, free to be used however one sees fit. But it's also perfect for academic research as we've studied their music for hundreds of years. In instances where music which has been approved to be used to train these algorithms, it's because large record labels have sold licensing rights to these companies, with zero regard to the concerns of artists. This means whenever you input a prompt into these machines, you're plagiarizing, no ifs or buts. Yes, some music used to train them has the consent of the artist, but there too are millions of songs used without permission, and you can't pick and choose which datasets the prompt is based on. Emmy was created to question and study the limits of human creativity, whereas software like Suno and Udio was created to exploit. This is the disheartening reality we live in right now. Hofstadter said after overseeing Emmy's public test that the only comfort we can get from this is that AI algorithms cannot generate its own style. Rather, it depends on mimicking other musicians. However, how much solace can it really bring? When it comes to making lots of money in the music industry, originality isn't the name of the game. Rather, it's the replicability of popular sounds. And that is a task AI is adept at handling. These are not machines created with the intent of expanding artistic expression like all the music machines which came before it. It's a content farm. So what now? Succumb to the torrent of AI music or constantly fight against it? I say fight it. There's one essential thing that AI machines does not possess. It is not something which can be quantified or can be put into a dataset, and that is... In the Quran, ruh can be interpreted in many different ways, but a popular take on the world refers to the soul. It posits that within all living beings, especially humans, there's something which drives the psyche. It's the abstract part which makes us tick and drives us to do things. It's what keeps us alive. Now, I know that's really corny, and it's not a great description of it, as I'm not a theologian, nor am I Muslim, agnostic, if anything, but the concept of an abstract, unquantifiable part of our psyche which makes us humans tick is something I can believe in. To be human is to feel. If not, then we'd merely be unfeeling sacks of meat and bone going from one task to another. This drive in us is what gives everything we do meaning, and that includes music. When we create music, no matter the instrument or machine, we imprint parts of our soul into it. For as stupid as it seems, we can't help it. We can teach machines to spit out music, but it won't add to anything. It's just regurgitating whatever it was fed as a puddle of digested vomit. As the free jazz pianist Pat Thomas said in an interview with Tone Glow, we have to remember that AI stands for artificial intelligence. It's not real intelligence. Someone may teach a parrot to keep saying E equals MC squared, but it won't know what it's talking about. Some might think, wow, that parrot is a genius. But it's not. AI music is just oversold. Music isn't merely notes squished together. When we use machines like a guitar, drums, and synthesizers, we are expressing ourselves as humans. Richard Dawson's song, Museum, is about a gallery in a faraway future centuries from now, one which has documented humans in all our mundanities. An archive of futility is how the narrator, the tour guide of the museum, describes it. Projections of us going about our days is shone on its long winding corridors as we go about in our cities and towns, bustling from one end to another. He sings of scared young soldiers, of classrooms filled with children, of football fans, of riot police beating climate protesters, and of babies being born. The song caps off with a heart-wrenching cry as Dawson sings how all of this and everything we have done are simply distant memories. A once great species which ruled the planet but is no longer here. It's a beautiful tribute to humanity, one which only a human could create. AI can't do this. Nor can it replicate John Coltrane's soulful and liberating rendition of My Favorite Things, or Bill Orcutt's powerful tribute to Americana folk and Solidarity Forever, or Phil Elverum's heartbreaking retelling of his painful grief in the weeks after the death of his wife. The list of songs, albums, and billions of pieces of art goes on. AI can't replicate any of this, because there is something inherent in us humans that wants to express ourselves. And to do that, we sing, we dance, we draw, and we tell each other stories. We create drums and flutes and strings pulled taut on pieces of wood. We create pigments and blow them onto the walls of caves, forever immortalizing the world around us for people thousands of years later to see. We invent writing systems and methods of distributing it to write and tell stories to one another. We create big, beautiful buildings solely dedicated as a place to perform and showcase our art. We create the electric guitar and the piano as new ways to express ourselves. We use machines never designed with the intention of creating art, because there are no other machines in the world which can describe how we feel. And even in the absence of machines, when there are no guitars, no flutes, no synthesizers, no computers, no AI music algorithms, we still make music, because there is a part of us which wants to proclaim that I was here on this earth. I am a human, and I feel deep sadness. I feel profound joy at the smallest things. I feel anger at the state of the world. I feel anxious about my future, and I feel love. And I want to tell you all about it, and the only thing that feels natural to do is to create art. We have been doing this ever since the dawn of humanity. This, right here, is what it means to be human. AI music can't do this. It's a machine. It's a machine which purports to be able to replicate the music we create, but it can't. Only humans can do this. We can create art with machines, but art cannot be created by a machine. We aren't living in some sci-fi fantasy where AI are indistinguishable from us. They are robots, unfeeling machines. They merely parrot whatever we feed them. It will never understand the nuances of emotions. It won't understand what makes a Mount Erie song so emotionally powerful, or why Fela Kuti songs makes us dance and protest. Machines can't replace it. Plain and simple. And anyone who proclaims their machines can completely take the human out of the equation in creating art is lying. Art belongs to humanity. It has for millenniums and will continue to be so until the sun wipes us out millions of years from now. And that's that. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do leave a like and subscribe, or don't, I can't force you. And if you want to support the channel, I have a Ko-fi page where you can donate, and I have a second channel where I upload music mixes, so if you want to hear what I've been listening to, you can subscribe to it. I also have an Instagram and Twitter, so if you want to keep up with whatever I'm doing, you can follow me there. So yeah, I'll see you all around.